Hey guys and gals, it's me George, the Shade Tree Fix-It Man, and I have a few minutes to spare here, so I'm going to try getting a little bit more done on the assembly of our motor for the Goofy cart. And one of the things we have to do before we start putting the piston in, you remember a while back now we already did the valves. And now we're going to put in the piston and then the crankshaft and all of that good stuff. And one of the things we need to do before we put our piston in, and the crankshaft obviously comes as well with that. Let me get my stuff arranged here a little bit so that I'm prepared and you're prepared. Is that we need to oil the cylinders. And I couldn't remember, you can tell I'm really well prepared for this. I couldn't remember if I had cleaned the cylinder or not after I had honed it. Well, and I started to oil the cylinder because I always like to put some oil in it and don't assemble it dry. And you can see how dirty my paper towel was. Yeah, so we've got that wiped out pretty well. And now I'm going to put some oil on a fresh paper towel. And I'm going to wipe down the inside of my cylinder walls so that they're properly lubricated. Because when we put our piston in, we don't want it to be a dry installation. Here's our piston. One of the things you need to remember is when you're installing your piston and your rings that you don't have any of your gaps. Here's the oil ring, and see here's our gap here. You want to stagger them around the piston. I have one here. I have my first oil scraper there. And then I need to slide this one around just a little bit more so that they're approximately a 1/3 around on each one, so they're equally spaced, so that there's no chance that we're going to have straight blow by from the crankcase. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take my same rag and I'm just going to wipe the skirts of my piston down like this, so that they have a little bit of oil on it. Doesn't need a lot, just enough to lubricate it when it first gets started. And to be honest with you, I can't remember which way this goes in, if it goes in this way or if it goes in this way. And if I recall correctly, it goes in this way. And I'm going to double check here. I'll be able to tell as soon as I try to put the crankshaft in. Now, I believe that's right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the way it's supposed to go. And I have my piston ring compressor here. And I'll take my same rag here. And I haven't used this one. I've never used this one. I bought this one at a yard sale. And that was a long time ago. So, it was all taped up. You can see where the tape had all dried on. They had masking tape around it. So we'll get this lubricated a little bit so it will slide down in. Not slide down in, but the piston will slide through it. Now, there is a top and a bottom on these. And I'm going to come right up close here and see if you can see. You see this little, where is it here? I just was feeling it. There's one right there. See that little dimple right there? And then if I slide around, there's another one right there. Can you see that? And there's another one there. Those are there just to catch on the top of your cylinder. I knocked my oil over so that it doesn't slide down inside with the piston. So the next thing to do now is to crank this up tight. Like I said, I've never used this one, so I don't even know how this one works, or if it works for that matter. Okay, this is a little bit later. I had to go pick up my grandson from school, and guess what I gotta do? I gotta tap this piston back out, because George put it in backwards. While I was waiting for him to come out of the school, I decided to do a little investigation. And so one of the beauties of having a smartphone is that you can check things like this. And I had it put in backwards. So, take it out, turn it around. Yeah, I'm going to double check my gaps again. There's one here. Yeah, and that one slid around. And my bottom one is over there. Okay. Now what did I do with my ring compressor? There it is. So we'll do this again. You know what I mean? Do it again. So now we have it back down in there, right? And the reason I say it was in there wrong before, let me show you. This connecting rod should be away from the camshaft, not against it. So I was telling you wrong. All right. So now the next thing to do is I'm going to put a little bit of oil here on my crankshaft, and I'm going to put a little oil here on my crankshaft where the rod goes, because this one here will ride on the bushing that's part of the engine block. So I'm just using a little bit of motor oil is all this is. And I have cleaned both ends of the crankshaft off before I came back on. So now this is going to go into this away, like this. Take my camshaft out, so I'm not fighting that. Now I'll put the crankshaft in. And I've already replaced the seal. There we go. Get our crankshaft all the way in there. Now I can turn it back around until I can lock my rod bearing in there. And I'm gonna push my rod down and turn the crank at the same time. Then we're going to put our rod cap on. I'll put a little more oil on here. And the rod bearings get torqued down to 200 to 220 inch-pounds. So I'm going to set my torque wrench the first time at 200, and then I'll do it at 210, and we'll leave it at 210. I don't think it's necessary to go all the way to the 220. It's in between those two numbers. And make sure when you put this bottom bolt in, it has the oil slinger cap on it. And it fits into a little notch on the bearing cap. Okay. I'm just going to snug those two bolts up. Bolts, they are bolts. Tap this down a little bit more so it's easier to get at. Yeah, that was my lifter falling down in there. That's no big deal. You can tell I haven't done this a lot. And of course, what I did know about them from taking it apart, I've forgotten because it's been so long since I took it apart. I can't remember now exactly how long it's been. We'll leave that out for the moment. So, take my torque wrench here, and I'm going to set it for 200. There's 200 inch-pounds right there. I'm going to snug them up a little at a time. Not even going to the brake yet, just snugging them up. There's one. There's the other one. That's 200. Now I'm going to take it to 210. This is a Harbor Freight. There's one. There's the other one. That's 210 for each one. And that's where we're going to leave it.